Yeah, I've been to the kitchen area. It's really nice. It's like bigger than Tyler C. Kind of looks like.
Yeah. I've had their pizza. It's a bit like, Jesus, it looks fake.
Hello and welcome to Candidate Question Time. My name is Mandeep Kaur Bambra and today we'll be looking at the candidates for Vice President of Welfare and Vice President for Sport. We have tests in social media. If you want to send questions, go to www.kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections. Alternatively, tweet us in at Kent_TV and use the hashtag CQT. Tell us what the question is, who the question is for, or if the question is for everyone and you want an answer from all the candidates. Before we start, let's have a look at what VP of Welfare does.
Okay, so thank you, Megan, for coming in to see us. So, you were the VP for Welfare for 2 years before the incumbent.
Yes, 2013 to 15.
So can you give us a brief overview for what the VP for Welfare does?
Yeah, so VP Welfare I always described it as covered everything that wasn't activities or in the classroom. So it's a huge remit that covers everything from accommodation, finance, well-being, safety, community cohesion, sometimes faith, so kind of everything that is a student experience but not either run by Kent Union or in your academic classroom. So it is probably like the broadest topic and the broadest sabbatical.
So it's a really broad role.
Yeah.
What was your favourite thing to be doing?
I really enjoyed finance. Like that was my thing about helping students who were in financial difficulties or giving students advice about ways in which they could help their financial situation. So whether that was working with the Advice Centre on budgeting, we did some stuff around gambling and payday loans as well and the risks that they bring, and making it more clear for where students could access financial support. So I think finance and to a certain extent I kind of took on a bit of like community. I did a lot of community stuff both in my first year and second year and around the general election as well, so that was fun.
Okay, so you did 2 terms, so you did 2 campaign weeks. So how did you find campaigning?
So the first year during campaigns, obviously the role was empty. I wasn't standing against incumbent, and I was very, very ill and got sent home by the returning officer because I kept throwing up everywhere. So I spent the whole first one ill, but enjoyed it as much as I could. And the second time I think that was a lot tougher because it was mine to lose. But overall it's a very fun week for those involved. but maybe not so much for the candidate.
So, if you could give any advice to our current candidates about campaigning, what would it be?
First thing, don't do what I do. If you feel ill, like stay at home. But I think, there's the simple things like make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you eat, make sure that you're taking regular breaks. But on the other side of things, you'll have your campaign teams and making sure that you kind of appreciate the volunteers that are like helping you out. So making sure that they're eating and they're sleeping, and at the end go out for drinks or a meal or something to say thank you. And then like strategically just talk to as many different people as you can. It's going to be one of the few opportunities you'll ever get in life just to talk to people about what you want to do. And so I think, talk to as many different kind of students as well. Get yourself around campus. Don't just stand outside the plaza. That's, outside venue. Yes, you'll get some people there, but not everyone was perhaps there. So spread yourself around campus and talk to lots of different people.
So, of course, we can't talk about what's happened in the past year because the incumbent is rerunning.
Yes.
But from your 2 years, what would you say is what you're most proud of that was achieved by Kent Welfare?
It's a tough one. Can I have one for each year?
You may.
Okay, so I think in my first year, I think the proudest thing I did was extend the leases of Rutherford and Elliott. So there used to be a 31-week term licence, and now they went to a 37-week term, which means that you could keep stuff in over Christmas and you can stay over the Easter holidays. And that was really vital to make sure the cheapest accommodation international students could access, or care leavers that didn't have homes as such, like parental homes to go back to. So I think that was probably my biggest, and it was at no extra cost. So kind of in real terms the price went down. So that was my biggest one for first year. My second one was getting students registered to vote for the general election. That was like a huge campaign. And we got like £10,000 from the government to run lots of campaigns. So that was my favourite thing.
Okay, so finally, if you could give the candidates advice, whoever wins, if you could give the next VP Welfare some advice, what advice would you give him about that?
I would say listen to what students have to say. Listen to what's on the ground, what they want, but also remember that you've been elected on your manifesto. So sometimes you just need to go out and do what you've done. Sometimes you might say, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and you might get a bit of backlash, but at the end of the day, students have elected you to do X, Y, and Z. So keep your values, that's a strong thing. That I'm very values driven, and you should keep what you believe and you should stick with what you believe, however controversial it is. Make the most of every opportunity. The staff and support at Kent Union are just fantastic, so make the most of them, and just try and create relationships with the university, with the Kent Union staff, with the local community that you wouldn't necessarily have, and just go all out. And good luck.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
First action is welfare. Let's see who's running.
Hi, my name is Beverly Sybil and I'm running for VP Welfare. My three main manifesto points are for gender neutral toilets, for more managerial roles and for more mental health workshops. Bet on Bev.
My name is Clara and I'm going to be your next VP Welfare. I want better on-campus facilities, a racial landlord scheme, and create stronger college identities. Choose Clara Care for welfare.
Hey, I'm Nick. I want to improve the mental health services on campus. I want to offer free feminine hygiene products, and I also want to set up a universal guarantor scheme. Hashtag just in the nick of time.
First, let's start with speeches. First up, Beverly Isibor. If you'd like to join us.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Beverly Sybil and I'm running to be your next VP Welfare. The reason why I'm running for this position is because I want to see stigmas on campus eradicated. I believe I am the perfect candidate for this position because of my experience both in Kent Union and outside of university. Campaigning for equality is something I've always felt passionate about. I have successfully campaigned for students who were born abroad but had lived in the UK for a very long time. These students could not go to university as student finance denied their application. The Supreme Court ruled in my favour so that these students could get the same help as those British born. And one of my friends is currently at the University of Kent because of what I campaigned for. In addition to this, I've represented Kent students opposing maintenance grant cuts by lobbying our local MP, Julian Brazier, at the Parliament. I gave him a piece of my mind and that was for free. At the University of Kent, I'm currently the Politics and International Relations course rep, as well as King's College president. So you can see why these roles have pushed me to become a bigger leader on a larger scale. Now, what am I going to do for you? First of all, I would like to point out that I want to be as realistic as possible and not just throw policies because of how they sound. As I've worked as a part-time officer for Kent Union this past academic year, I have a very good idea of how things work. Kent Union are very proud on offering student staff managerial roles at the university. I want to see more of these. With this, I want to provide more recognition too by providing certificates for those who reach this level. So when they leave university, they can demonstrate to employers that they have the experience of being a leader and not only a degree to show off. As much as I would love to promise a living wage for student staff, I unfortunately know that there's no budget for it. And I know you guys don't want for me to cut down the amount of student staff. Some of us here regret the land. Another point is that I want the transgender, non-binary people at the university to feel as comfortable as possible, and also mental health to be recognised more at the university by eradicating the stigma. Please vote for me and bet on Bev. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Next up for the 2-minute speech is Clara Lee.
I'm Clara and I'm going to be your next VP Welfare. I'm a final year student, volunteered in 6 different student committees, and I've worked 7 different on-campus jobs. My manifesto is ambitious, but my multitask is up for a challenge. It focuses on 5 key areas: student wellbeing, on-campus services, off-campus support, increasing college identities, and strengthening existing campaigns. Out of these 5, I will now discuss 3 of them. Mental health is a vital issue that needs to be more openly discussed. University has a great support and wellbeing service, but there is a lack of awareness of what it has to offer. At present, I'm Parkwood Resident Support Officer, or RSO. However, I've had very few students approach me. If elected, I want this RSO role, as well as other services that university has to offer, to work more closely with Kent Union to ensure that students are aware of the range of options that are available to them. Moving on to on-campus services, I want to improve laundry facilities. I lived on campus for 2 out of my 4 years at university, and it's a constant nuisance, with students having to find change to do their laundry, only to have the machines breaking down. For those living in catered accommodations, I want them to have the option to choose what meal plan to opt for, and look onto the possibility of creating more alternative meal plans. Finally, to provide support to off-campus students, I want to introduce a Rate Your Landlord scheme, a TripAdvisor-like service on the Homestamp website where students can rate their properties and landlord or agency. I also want to campaign for a crossing at St Stephen's Hill from the bottom of stairs of Tyler Court to Downs Road. Students from Hales Place cross this road daily, and it's a busy and dangerous road. These are only a few of my manifesto points, so I hope that you give the rest of my manifesto a read and vote Clara Care for Welfare.
Thank you, Beverly. And lastly, Nick Weatherhill, if you'd like to join us.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm a third-year politics student and I'm running to be your next VP Welfare. I want students to be able to access as much support as possible at their time at university so they can make the most out of it. I'm running so that I can represent every single student. I'm running so that each and every one of your voices can be heard. I'm running so I can make sure that student welfare remains the #1 priority for Kent Union. One of the areas I feel needs the most attention is mental health. Mental health is one of the most widespread issues affecting students. In the UK alone, 1 in 4 people suffer from a mental health problem, and sadly it's one of the most overlooked problems at the moment. I want to tackle both the availability of mental health treatment and the internal and external stigma that prevents students from seeking help and even recognising that it's a problem. If I'm elected, I will double the amount of medical staff trained in counselling services, meaning students can get the support they need as quickly as possible. I'll also set up an anonymous student support network where you can seek advice and help from fellow students and who have maybe been through similar things, and you can even be referred to a doctor. I'd also want to introduce some healthy and cheap options across campus, including a £1 pasta bar at Essentials, which will also offer a cheaper vegetarian option, as there's a lacking in a vegetarian and options in Essentials. As well as that, I'd like to work with the food outlets in both the Canterbury and Medway campuses towards introducing a £5 meal deal. Student welfare is extremely important. University is a fantastic yet difficult time where finances and well-being are put under a lot of stress. I want to be the person you can fight for your corner, the person who's always around to listen to the concerns of students, the person you can rely on to ensure students take more away from university than just heavy debt. I want to be your next VP Welfare so that every single student on campus knows there is someone who cares about them, who is fighting to better your university lives. I'm Nick Wetherill. Vote for me for your next VP Welfare.
Thank you, Nick. Next, we will be looking at our questions for the candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions, and I'll give you 30 seconds and a 10-second warning. We will start with 2 group questions. So, question 1 is, what experience do you have which makes you the most suitable candidate for this role of VP Welfare? Beverly, if you could please answer the question first.
As I highlighted in my speech, I'm currently the King's College president, and I'm actually undertaking a project called No More. It's a movement that started in November, and it was to tackle discrimination and people to express how they feel about what should not be tolerated in society. Mental health is one of the projects that I'm doing in March, and we're gonna have a night where people kind of express why the stigmas of mental health shouldn't be there. So I've kind of done in my King's College president role.
Thank you, Beverly.
I've kind of done a
30
lot.
seconds.
Thank you.
You had 30 seconds left. You can continue.
So as well as going to Parliament to represent students on maintenance grants, which affects loads of students across the university, and I represented them by giving Julian Brazil a piece of my mind, and I told you I did it well. So those didn't pass, but that's how I've kind of showed that I'm suitable for this role because of my experience.
Thank you, Beverly. Clara, if you could answer the same question again. So what experience do you have which makes you the most suitable candidate for the role of VP Welfare? I'll let you know when you have 30 and 10 seconds left.
So I've been in the Parker Student Committee. In second year, I was Vice President, so I've helped out in a Welcome Week. I've worked on some campaigns. During my third year, I was on my year abroad in Hong Kong, but still I was the welfare officer for Parkwood. And finally now, in my final year, I'm actually employed by the university as a resident support officer, where I'm there to give students of Parkwood support and all the advice they need. I'm trying to think else. I'll go with that.
Thank you very much, Beverly. And Nick, would you like me to repeat the question or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not going to list you all the different roles I've had across university. I don't want to bore you all. I'm going to talk about something a bit more personal. I just talked about all the importance of mental health on campus. Personally, I've suffered from some serious mental health issues on campus, and I did not find there was enough support for it. I've had personal experience dealing with these things, especially with stuff like financial problems. I know what it's like. I know what kind of things students need. Another thing is I also run a website called UKC Voice, which is all about getting students' problems out there. As VP Welfare, it's my job to represent every single student on campus, and that's a reflection of efforts I've made to do that previously. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nick. So we'll go to the next group question. The second question is, how will you support students who do not study at the Canterbury campus? Beverly, if you could please answer this question first.
Okay. In Medway.
Sorry, Beverly. I'm so sorry. Actually, Clara, if you could by any chance answer this question first.
Okay, so by that question, I presume they mean Medway students. So as one of these resident support officers, there is one in Medway, and I would love to work more with this Medway resident support officer and find out more of the problems in Medway. Like, I admit, I've only been to Medway once, and that's because there is no incentive for students at Canterbury to go over at Medway. There is nothing, so I want to work more with Medway and understand the problems that they face, and so that I can work towards a solution towards that.
Thank you, Clara. And Nick, if you could please answer the same question.
Well, Medway is just an integral part of this university as the Canterbury campus. One of my big policy areas to do with Medway is security, especially in the Liberty Keys area. I've been talking to quite a few students who, especially late at night, feel quite unsafe there, so I want to make sure there's definitely 24 hours campus security presence on there. There's also the problem of integration with this campus. People in Medway can often feel quite isolated, and I'd love to work to kind of improve that so they don't feel like they're kind of out in the sticks, but they're actually one university with us as well.
Thank you, Nick. Beverly, I do apologise from before. We were trying to rotate the questions. I'm so sorry, that was my mistake. Yes, so how will you support students who do not study at the Canterbury campus?
Well, one thing I want to highlight is that obviously Canterbury campus is bigger than the Medway campus. It does have more representation than the Medway campus, and that will change as they're having a new study social space, a social space hub. I want to utilize that in doing the events that I'll probably be doing in on the Canterbury campus, and use that social hub, the social study hub, to do the events there, because I think the main problem was because of space and because of how we couldn't cooperate with Medway to do it, and use the college president in Medway and the resident support officer in Medway, and integrate them both into the Canterbury campus more.
Thank you very much, Beverly. Now we will go over to the social media hub to see what questions you have given us.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, Tess.
Now, the first question we have is for Beverly. Okay. What makes you think you're a viable candidate for welfare, considering you ran for president last year?
Okay, I had a feeling this will come up. Well, first of all, because last year I was in first year and I just wanted, the reason why I did the election was because of experience, and the reason why I do think I'm perfect for the candidate this year is because last year I wasn't really involved in Kent Union. To be honest, I didn't know what Kent Union was, but this year I've had a bigger experience in terms of I've got 2 roles in Kent Union, and the things that I do for Kent Union is alongside welfare, so it just made more sense for me to run for this position. I would have run for president again if I wanted to win again, but I would run for welfare because I felt that's up my street, and yeah, that's why.
Thank you very much, Beverly. Over to social media. So Tess, another question?
Okay, the next question is for Nick. It says, you state that you want to make feminine hygiene projects free. Have you researched into the financial logistics of such reductions?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's some universities across America who do a similar sort of thing. It's something we'd have to probably subsidise in essentials. Although I'd love to work with the university towards funding the scheme, because it's just as much their responsibility as ours too. I mean, feminine hygiene products are a basic human right. The UN noted that in recent years. So I'd love to work with the university towards making that possible.
Thank you, Nick. Tess, social media, do you have a question for Clara?
Okay. Yes, our next question says, you mentioned students being able to opt into alternative meal plans for catered accommodation. Would this not be too complicated and problematic for the catering department, considering the number of students who rely on catered accommodation?
Okay, so at the moment there is the bed and flex scheme, there's a bed and breakfast scheme with Rutherford / dinner, and then there's the bed and bistro scheme over in Keynes. If students get to choose which meal plan they want to go from when they apply for accommodation, I believe that we can work away with Kent Hospitality so they can know how many people are on what deal, and they can adjust accordingly.
Thank you for your answer, Clara. Social media, next question.
The next question we have is for Nick. You state that you want to... Why do you feel that seminars on sexual health and sexual consent will be well attended and therefore be informative for the majority of students? That is for Nick, of course.
Question is for Nick.
This is for me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, university is a very liberating time for students. You're free from parents, you're free from, especially during Freshers Week, you're free from responsibility. There's also a lot of alcohol, present. I feel having timetabled lectures and seminars is really, really important because sexual health and consent is not something you can just dodge. It's things we all need to be well versed on, especially at universities where, like I said, it's a very liberating experience. We have a right to educate our students on things that are important.
30 seconds left, Nick.
Sexual health and consent is definitely one of the most important things students need to learn coming into university.
Thank you for your answer, Nick. Tess in social media, do you have a question for Beverly?
Yes. Okay. The question is, you mentioned that you want to create gender-neutral toilets. Could you expand on the reason for this? I'm sorry, if you couldn't hear that. You mentioned that you want to create gender-neutral toilets. Could you expand on the reason for this? It's for Beverly.
Well, first of all, I just believe that there should be representation, more representation for trans and non-binary people, especially in a venue. Is quite awkward or kind of like putting people in isolation where they go to the venue having a great time, but they have to like get a key to go to a toilet just because. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of what's it called? Just to make people feel like they're among. By the end of the day, Kent Union is there to represent all students, not some, all students. So another thing that I wanted to do as well is to kind of an inclusive policy to work with the Liberation Campaign officer and to work with the future sports VP to have like an inclusive policy for active, what's it called?
10 seconds left.
Active inclusion with people that are trans. So just to make them feel amongst, because it's not good to isolate people.
Thank you, Beverly. And social media, do we have a question for Clara?
Yes, the question is, given that many disabled students need to live on campus, why do you think it would be easier to liaise with local sports clubs as opposed to including on the gym expansions you are planning?
This is me, okay.
Yeah, this is for Clara.
So can you repeat the question?
Tess, could we have a repeat of the question, please?
Just to repeat the question, given that many disabled students need to live on campus, why do you think it would be easier to liaise with local sports clubs as opposed to including in the gym expansions you are planning?
Well, I don't think I had any gym plans in my manifesto, but I'd say, yes, it'd be great to work with more of the local community and get local sports clubs to come over to campus and work with the disability students. I think personally, I don't know the problems that students with disabilities have, but I want to work more with the students with disabilities officer, someone who's probably more well-knowledged in this, and working with them, I would want to support them with their campaigns and help students with disabilities.
Thank you very much, Clara. Social media, do you have a group question for us?
Yes, the group question is, what experience do you have which will make you the most suitable candidates for the role of VP Welfare?
Clara, please could you answer this one first?
Okay, sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, sure. Tess, please could you have a repeat of the question?
Okay, how will you support students who do not study at the Canterbury campus? How will you support students who do not study at the Canterbury campus?
I believe we had this question before.
Tess, could we have another question?
I can answer again if you want.
I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties at the moment. If we just go back to Mandeep.
We're going to go to the next clip as we are having technical difficulties. This is how to vote.
I wish I had a way of changing what happens at my university. I'd stick a coffee machine right there. I'd probably make things a bit more wheelchair friendly. I'd definitely make beer free at Essentials.
Okay, maybe it's a good idea that I don't get a say in every single aspect of student life, but just like every other student, I do get a say by voting for different candidates in different union roles. To do that, all you gotta do is go down to the venue.
It's easy to get to venue, even from Rutherford. You've just gotta go... How do I get to venue? Alternatively, you can go to kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections and vote online. Just click the Vote Now button, log in with your student account, and follow the instructions. You can read the candidates' manifestos, and then vote for your nominations in the order that you want them.
That was how to vote, and here is the next question.
Now our question is, do you think that the union focuses its energy on its issues like ethnic minorities and women when it should work for all students? This is for all the candidates.
Again, Clara, if we could please have you answering this question first.
Yeah. So I believe that we should work with all the part-time officers. Problem is, there are not enough students who run for these part-time officers, and I believe we need to empower these part-time students more. Yes, there are ethnic minority problems, there are women's problems, but there's also problems with students with disabilities, mature students, part-time students. There's so many marginalised groups here at the university, and I think we should work with all of them. That's why one of my manifesto points is to work with all the part-time officers and support them in their relevant campaigns.
Thank you for your answer, Clara. Nick, if we could have the same question going to you.
Repeat the question, possibly.
Tess, could we have a repeat of the question? That's possible.
Okay, the question is, do you think that the union focuses its energy on its issues like ethnic minorities and women when it should work for all students?
Is that okay, Nick?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think it should just focus on groups such as those marginalised and ethnic minorities, but at the same time, it's our job to enable these groups to succeed. And maybe some are more, deserving of more help than others. Like I said before, it's about helping all students, but there's some sections of students who need that help more. And we shouldn't put those students at a disadvantage for the sake of everyone. It's about prioritising who needs what help and how we get that done.
Thank you for your answer, Nick. And Beverly. And then a minute as well to answer the question.
Okay. I think the union currently, they do a good job in trying to include everyone, represent everyone, but there's always, and it doesn't only apply to Kent Union, around the world, there's always going to be a certain group that feel like they're not represented much as the other. That's why I think it doesn't only take 5 sabbatical leaders to actually do this. It has to be different levels of volunteers in the union that is from part-time officers. So that's why someone like me that's a King's College president right now, I feel like it's my job as well as other volunteers to kind of partake in that representation of other groups, because there's only so much that 5 people can do. So just everyone playing their part is what I think will make a better...
That's 10 seconds. Thank you very much, Beverly. And Tess, in social media, do we have another question for Nick this time?
We actually have a question for Beverly first. It's from Twitter, from Cabo Toshi. Okay, the question is, gender-neutral toilets, will this not raise other problems? Drunk nights could lead to the toilets being misused.
Can you repeat the question, sorry?
Tess, could we please have a repeat of the question?
Okay. To repeat, Gender-neutral toilets. Will this not raise other problems? Drunk nights out could lead to the toilets being misused.
Well, first of all, I don't think so. Yes, I understand like drunk nights out might cause a bit of a stir, but that can happen to any other toilet. So if you're really just thinking about a drunk night out is going to affect to represent people, then I think you might have to reconsider. But yes, there's always going to be flaws in policies that people do. There's always going to be disadvantages. That's why I'm being realistic. There's always going to be something like that. But I don't think it should come above, it should be a greater way than doing what I want to do.
Thank you for your answer, Beverly. Tess, do you have a question for the next candidate?
Yes. Yo-Yo asks on Twitter, could Clara specify what better on-campus facilities mean?
Yeah, so I have 3 main points under the better on-campus facilities. That is improving laundry facilities. That's something dear to my heart, having living in Parkwood for 2 years. Improving meal plans for people living in catered accommodations, but obviously this is open to anyone who is living in self-catered accommodations. And what was another point? There was, I think, I can't remember. There is another point which I can't remember, but my 2 main points was the laundry facilities and.
There's 30 seconds left, Clara.
Yeah. Laundry facilities and the meal plans. Oh, actually no, I remember now. It was to give the option to pay accommodation fees, not on a termly basis, but on a monthly basis, because not all students get student finance, so they don't get these termly payments. So I want to have the option for them to pay in monthly instalments or
10 seconds left.
Suits them. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much for your answer, Clara. Social media, Tess. Next question, please.
Okay, our next question is for Nick. It reads, you say that you want to introduce cheaper meal deals, including £5 meal deals in all outlets. How do you intend to do this with outlets that aren't owned or run by the union?
The university has the, they have a right to look after students. Kent Union is always working with the university on loads of different things, not just food, with very close integration, because we're on the same university, we're all part of the same thing. How can we not be? It's all about working with the university to encourage them and also give them, let them know why they want to do it. With £5 meal, it's the sort of thing students might flock to. It's something I'm sure they'd be very keen to push forwards. I don't see any difficulty working with them to get it done. Like I said, we work with the university on so many different things. I don't know why this would be an issue.
Thank you for your answer. And social media, Tess, another question, please.
Okay, this question is for everyone. Should universities accommodate religious beliefs through its facilities, when surely they should be secular institutes?
Okay, repeat the question.
Yeah.
Beverly, could we have you answer this question first? Would you like a repeat of the question?
Yes, please.
The question was, should universities accommodate religious beliefs through its facilities when surely they should be secular institutions?
Beverly?
Well, I'm surprised you asked that question even. Yes, I do think that the university should support religious beliefs. First of all, we are here to represent everyone. When I mean everyone, I mean from race to religion to sex, everything. You should represent everyone. So placing a secular kind of atmosphere in the union or at the university is something that I don't think should be tolerated at all. Yes, there's a certain extent where you can be stopped in terms of radicalization or something like that when you're putting
30 seconds left, Beverly.
Oh, sorry. When you're kind of subduing another religion to yours or thinking that your religion is better, that shouldn't be tolerated. Everyone is equal. So I don't think secular or religious should be weighed up at all.
10 seconds left. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you very much for that answer. Could we please have a repeat of the question, Tess?
Sorry, just give me 1 second to find it. Okay, the question was, should universities accommodate religious beliefs through its facilities when surely they should be secular institutions?
Clara, please could we have this question answered by yourself?
Okay, 100%. Like the university, yes, it should be an impartial institution, but it doesn't mean they can't have these, host all these religions at the university. We already have Interfaith Day, which is great. I volunteer the Student Society's executive, where we've been trying to put this on, which so it's happening in a few weeks. But yes, I believe we should have all the faiths here at the university, because should cater to all students if they have religious beliefs.
Thank you for your answer, Clara. Nick, please could we have you answer the same question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I pretty much agree with the other two. There's nothing wrong with catering for religion on university. At the end of the day, the university is a centre for thought and for freedom, whether you're religious or not. Personally, I'm not a religious man, but you know what, live and let live. You know, if they need the space to pray or to do anything like that, then you know what, I'm not going to complain. It's, you know, if they want to do that, that's fine. I think to make universities solely secular institutions is a silly idea. As long as we can cater for people who might not agree with religion, that's fine. That's a completely different thing. In terms of providing the facilities, when you have so many students who are Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, all that sort of stuff, it's the university sort of they have to provide those facilities.
Thank you very much for your answer, Nick.
To everyone.
Tess in social media, please could we have another question for the candidates?
Okay, this is another group question. Do you think it's fair that the union focuses its energy on ethnic... I'm very sorry. It appears we're having technical difficulties again.
Tess, if we could by any chance have another question in that case? Sorry, we are having a bit of trouble with our feed. We won't be too long. We are just sorting out our technical difficulties in the social media hub. We won't be too long if you bear with us. Is there could I ask a question actually? Is there one thing that the VP of Welfare would like to work on current issues?
What do you mean?
Sorry?
What do you...
Sounds like if we could prioritise one issue.
Yeah, on the current issues that are going on right now in the university. If, for instance, there's been recent issues that have been going on that you might have seen, that we've been reporting about. Beverly, could you answer this question first?
Well, most of you that are watching now probably know about the external speaker policy. I will strongly agree that I think there should be like a cap on what kind of speaker comes into the university. As we saw from the Britain's first campaign, I think that's totally inappropriate because you're kind of making another religion making another religion feel like they're inferior to the rest of the people, and so I don't think people like that shouldn't be allowed to come and speak in this university, because everyone is equal. Everyone's equal, everyone should deserve respect, and respect comes with everything that Kent Union run for.
Thank you for that answer, Beverly. And Nick, if we could have the same question to you.
Well, first of all, I mean, you can't prioritise one single issue in welfare. It's quite all-encompassing. I'd like to take a moment to disagree with Bev on that one, actually. Freedom of speech isn't for some and not for others. Freedom of speech is an all-or-nothing thing, right? Like I said, university is a place of thought. It's a place of criticism. It's a place of learning. You can't rule out certain lines of thought, no matter how much you agree with them. I mean, personally, I find Britain First deplorable, but I wouldn't ban them from speaking on campus as long as they're not doing so in an aggressive way.
30 seconds left.
So, I mean, that's my opinion on the external speakers policy. Like I said, you can't be free for some, not for others. and that extends to freedom of speech.
Okay, so if I could extend on this question just for Nick, what do you think would happen with people who promote hate?
It's quite a tricky one. I mean, my personal views are, so long as it's not inciting, aggression and violence, as long as you're not throwing punches, as long as you're not telling, you have to be very careful. But in terms of saying, for instance, the Islamic Society have got a Faith Week on, I think, next week, and one of their speakers is very anti-homosexuality. He stated that homosexuality should be banned before. I don't agree with that, but at the same time, I don't think you should be banned from saying that, even if you might, say it's inciting hatred. No, he's just putting a point of view across. Like I said, university, place of learning, you can't limit the freedom of thought that goes on here, because that's the only way you can ever move forward in life.
Thank you for your answer, Nick. Clara, if we could have the same question to you.
Yeah. So I'm going to completely step out of this this Senate Speaker debate. As Nick said, as with VP Welfare, we should look over a variety of issues. But if there was one particular issue that I want to focus on, it's actually on international students and exchange students. So I'm in Japan Society. We have lots of Japanese students, and they actually come in April. Yet there are no welcome events for international exchange students coming in January or April or any other time of the year. There's massive focus on Freshers Week, yet there isn't any focus on January or the other times. So I want to have more focus on international students. And another issue with international students I know is the problem with Tier 4 visas. I know the government is really tightening up on those rules, and it's very important to raise awareness of this, which is why I want to focus more on improving the welfare of international students.
Thank you for your answer. And social media, can we come back to you for some more questions?
Yes, now technical difficulties have been sorted out and we have another question. First one's for Beverly. How do you think the Kent Union could create more staff jobs for students?
Well, it was in my manifesto. I didn't say that they can create more staff jobs for students. I just said that there should be more managerial roles. At the moment, Kent Union are quite the budget is doing quite bad. So I'm not going to stay here sit here and start saying, oh yeah, I'm going to create more jobs. No, I'm not promising that anyways. But what I will try to do is probably go to speak to the council on if they could raise the living wage for students that work on the high street, because I think what Kent Union is about is not only about student staff that work for Kent Union. It's not only about getting the money. It's about kind of learning new skills, and that's why managerial roles like being a supervisor or team leader is something that when you come out of university you can show to employers that I worked at my uni, but also I was a manager, or I was a supervisor, or I was a team leader. So that's my main priority.
Thank you very much for your answer, Beverly. Social media test. Next question, please.
Our next question is for Clara. You state that you want to change the accommodation payment plans to monthly scheme. Do you not feel this would be problematic for first years who are not yet accustomed to paying rent and controlling their finances?
Okay. So this point was more aimed at EU students and international students who don't get the student finance. But if home students should wish to opt into this, then I think they should. It's something that you need to learn. So you need to learn how to budget your finances, and is a life skill that you need to learn, especially when you go to second year, when you live off campus, where you might not necessarily pay rent on a timely basis. So should they wish to do monthly basis, I would definitely strongly recommend them to go to Kent Advice Centre and get help on how to budget things.
Thank you for your answer, Clara. Test social media. Next question, please.
Our next question is for Nick. How do you propose to improve mental health support at Kent? Because the online student support system you refer to in your manifesto already exists. It's called the Big White Wall.
The Big White Wall. Well, I don't know if that's a Kent-centric thing. If it is, I applaud them, but if it is, I don't think many people know about it. If it's a nationwide thing, that's not what I want to implement. It needs to be specific to Kent. So like I said, one of the biggest problems with mental health is both internal and external stigma. A lot of people have difficulty, coming out with their mental health problems, just talking to someone. And from personal experience, I find talking to people is one of the best things you can do for mental health. And if we can encourage more Kent students, come out with these problems and talk about them, then we're making vast strides forwards already. But no, I haven't heard of the White Wall, and if it does exist at Kent, I'm worried the fact that I don't know about that, just because I've had so many people ask me, who do I go to? And that's what I want solved.
Thank you very much for your answer, Nick. So I have another question myself. What would you continue from Rory's work? And if I could go to Clara first.
Okay, with Rory's work. So one thing that I really liked from Rory's manifesto was Shag Week, so the Sexual Health Awareness Week, a G sample. But so it happened a few weeks ago. It was a good event. There was various events throughout the week, and I believe so. One of my manifesto points is to prove existing campaigns we have. So not just aside from Shag Week, there's also Housing Week, there's Welcome Week. So I'd want to focus on strengthening these campaign weeks, and that's how I'd want to continue on Rory's work.
So how exactly would you strengthen them, if I can ask?
Okay.
Considering that they're already quite strong?
Sorry, considering what?
That they're already quite strong?
Okay. So I think the problem with this university is that we have so much going on. Like, I work as a social media promoter, and I know how many events we have, and it gets lost in this information. There's just so much happening at the same time. Like this week alone, we have Refugee Week, we have Help the Homeless Week, we have Hogwarts Society, they have their own week, Leadership Week. There's so many things happening at the same time. So I believe that students just switch off and they just don't know about these events. So I want to focus more on promoting these events, make students know that these are happening and make them want to go and attend these events even more.
Thank you, Clara. Beverly, please could we have the same question for you? Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
So how do you think that you could strengthen or continue from Rory's work?
Well, I've worked with Rory, to do with housing, to get students more, when they're trying to, it's called Find a Housemate. We did an event at actually here in the Student Media Centre, and it got great responses. A lot of students came. I want to expand that on a larger scale. So it was mostly first years that came. Second years and third years came as well. But to have the space that we used was quite small, and there was a lot of students that came. So to expand that on a bigger scale, probably during the Housing Week, like in a bigger space would be great. So yeah, that's one thing I'll probably strengthen, yeah.
Thank you for your answer, Beverly. How do you think that you would help students who want to get houses before Christmas?
I actually thought about this. The Housing Week is, they kind of do it like after Christmas. So to do one, like it's just like Freshers' Fair and Refreshers' Fair. It would be nice to do one before Christmas, because obviously some students love to get the good houses first, like myself. That I will definitely try and do that if I'm elected as VP Welfare.
Thank you, Beverly.
Welcome.
Thank you to all the candidates. Don't forget that we have sport next. And don't forget to give send your questions in to Twitter @Kent_TV and use the hashtag CQT. Alternatively, you can send in your questions to the website www.kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections. And let's watch some clips of KTV's achievements for this year.
Hey guys, welcome to KTV's Freshers coverage for 2015.
Hello, welcome to Canestock 2015.
And this is your KTV update.
Hello and welcome to KTV's varsity coverage. Hey guys, welcome to KTV's Freshers coverage for 2015 with me, Tom Russell.
And me, Kathy Plumridge.
On today's show, we have top tips for all you freshers out there on how to get by. And we also have microwave meals for the boys.
We're bringing you all the Freshers Fair coverage. On today's show, we have George and Alex in our Features Hub, showing us which hangover cures are going to be great for you this Freshers Week.
Yeah, but coming up first, I'm going to show you highlights from venue last night.
So I thought I'd give you some top tips on your Freshers experience. Just don't ever try and hoover up your vomit.
I'm here outside Westgate Towers to give you the tour of Canterbury. Here we are at the start of the town, directly up from Westgate Towers. Here you get most of your takeaways like Subway, Chicken Cottage, Munchies and so many more. We're here outside some of Canterbury's best kept secrets.
Well, we were tasked with finding hangover cures, and we chose to go down the smoothie route.
Well, that's very nice.
Is that much nicer?
That is much nicer.
Oh, I'm not excited.
Hey guys.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm alright.
I bet you can drink the other half.
No.
Hi, my name is Selena Stubb.
I'm Mandeep Bambra.
I'm Jonathan Smith.
And this is your KTV update.
This is your KTV update, and this is your KTV update for the 2nd of February 2016.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, the Kent Wheel has closed 3 weeks early. The surprise departure would have lost the university an estimated £41,000.
I feel like it's quite disappointing, as if you're going to spend this amount of money, then it should be something that should be here for a while for everyone to see.
I'm here in the plaza on UKC campus, where you can see that some of campus has been cordoned off.
Well, we got a fire alarm in the cafe. I'm working at the library cafe, and we had to evacuate the building. And first it looked like it might be just a practice run or something, but they kept pushing us more away from the library. So yeah.
I'm Charlie Gardner here at the Holi Festival on UKC. Let's get involved!
Holi is the Hindu spring festival of colours. Although originally a Hindu religious celebration, its popularity has spread so much it's now celebrated by non-Hindus around the world.
On Sunday the 7th of February, 5 members from Britain First held a protest outside the Canterbury Muslim Centre and Canterbury Mosque. To stand against this, students of the University of Kent held a peaceful protest, which hundreds attended earlier today.
I think today the message we need to give out is we may be people from different countries, different cultures, different faiths, but the point is we can agree to disagree, and that disagreement does not lead to bigotry or racism.
No matter how many different views people have on this campus, how diverse it is, I think it's really great that everyone's kind of pulled together to stand up against fascism and hatred.
Maisie Golding, KTV News, University of Kent Canterbury campus.
Hi, my name is Bridget. We are outside the pavilion and now we're going to meet the KFL Sports Society. Let's go and have some fun.
I've just joined the team because of the friendliness in it. I mean, it's better standard than it sounds. It's actually really good.
We've got footage from a variety of games from across the week. So guys, what do you think?
I mean, CCU at most of the territory in the first half. Hopefully with this slight hill here, hope we kick it in the corners, they'll all game.
Yeah, we won 9 out of 9 races, so it wasn't particularly a technical challenge for us.
So convincing win then.
I'm George Stiles.
And I'm Alexander Lilly.
And you're watching Results Night Live with KTV.
So after weeks of campaigning, this is the culmination of it all.
We've also got one in from Clara Lee. She says, good morning from Hong Kong. And we've actually got one in from your mum and sister, Alex.
A few people are starting to pile in now, and I'm sure it's all going to get very tense before the first announcement at 10 p.m.
KFD 2016 is January!
After
after like our second sabbatical. We're in shock.
We are
Matt,
staying.
how are you? We're in pieces.
I'm just great because I actually got hit by the cannon.
I've got more stats.
Got more stats.
I've got stats for days.
Can I call you Wikipedia?
No.
Okay.
So we're here with the Sab family.
Yeah!
How are you all feeling?
It's been a great night. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Alexander Lilly.
I've been George Stiles. And good night.
Good night.
Okay, just be back soon.
Hi, I'm Jack Knight and I'm playing at Canestock on the 30th of May. This is an original of mine called Never Let Her Go.
All I wanted was to entertain the space, claim the stage and make music to my name. Got a craft like others in the melody game and say let's go, take it away, yeah. I was brought up in a different city but pretty bored there, so I moved a million mile. No plan, just a nomad and better style. Tall order, now I'm just a pretty child. No, no, da da da. Down different avenues, 2 years, 8 houses. I'm just browsing, think about 1,000. Reckon that bottle of Belvedere, dear, dear, dear. Befriending me on enemy while humming like this, yeah. Humming on my enemy, my melody is kiss the fist unless adrenaline hits. Yeah, take the risk if you get my gist. I'm ahead of them, got a force like Anakin. Snapback hats, I'm a Star Wars mannequin. Sitting on my back panicking, on an O10. Afrojack, got touch on the fly again. No. Playing stages like I'm Sonic and no, la da da.
I think that's the beauty of KTV is you don't have to have done something before you do it. You can get the training and support from the people here to allow you to do it.
There's no kind of strict guidelines of what you can and can't do, so it's just best to get involved. Everyone is really friendly and everyone will make you feel welcome.
It's great because as much as you want to get out of it, you can. There are endless opportunities here.
And we're a platform and we offer you the training and the support and the equipment and any kind of team that you will need to do what you want to do, and we'll guide you through the process. So
Okay, so let's say there's a fresher watching this video who's on the fence about joining KTV. What would you have to say to them?
I would have to say, do it. Just do it, because even if you're not sure, if you just come along to a certain, like, there's so much to do here. If you just come along to like little bits here and there, you can decide from there. If you don't like it, that's fair enough. Like, go find your other passion. But I can guarantee you will enjoy yourself.
KTV, usually I think what people are on the fence about is whether or not it's something they personally should join, or whether or not they're going to get out of it what they want to get out of it. And I think what I would say is that KTV is specifically aimed at that. So it's for students to kind of get out of it what they want to get out of it. So we're a platform, and we offer you the training and the support and the equipment and any kind of team that you will need to do what you want to do, and we'll guide you through the process. So whatever you want to do, we can help you do it. That's basically it. So if you're worried that KTV isn't the right place for you, you can make it the right place for you. That's kind of what I would say.
Come to the meeting. You're not going to know about anything just from looking at it online or from like a stand or anything. You've got to come to the meeting and actually see people face to face, because it's like with any society that you join or any student media or anything, you've got to see it face to face and give it a chance, because whether you're someone that absolutely knows that you want to get into student media, whether you're someone that knows you want to do news, whether you know you want to do drama, all the way down to you're just looking for something to do, something to spark your interest and something to keep you occupied and get you excited, sort of thing. Because in the crew that I had on the feature I was doing, we had a big mixture of someone who'd been using a camera for about 10 years to someone who just had never even thought of getting involved in film and TV, that was just looking for something to do. And they both were there the whole 6 months, equally as committed. And it's just, if you want to find your place, and I think a lot of people have found their place in student media.
If you're on the fence about joining KTV, I'd say it's great, because as much as you want to get out of it, you can. There are endless opportunities here.
If anything, I suggest if you're feeling lonely, get involved in KTV, because that really helps me through those lonely times.
Yeah, just come along, you'll have a great time, you'll meet new friends, you'll probably meet like the bestest friends here.
I'd say basically just on the fence, just join. Basically, I'm going to say that, but the reason is because everyone here is really nice, and everyone will try to make you feel involved. You can do anything you want as well. If you don't want to, no one's going to force you to be on camera if you don't want to be on camera. No one's going to force you to hold a camera if you don't want to hold a camera. If you just want to edit, you can just do that. There's no kind of strict guidelines of what you can and can't do. So it's just best to get involved. Everyone is really friendly, and everyone will make you feel welcome. It's just best to go for it, ignore your doubts, go for it, and just do whatever you like, really, isn't it?
It's one hell of a journey, and you'll love it. So just come along and get involved.
I had no experience in this. I'm a history student. I'd done some acting before, but I'd never touched a camera, never touched editing software. And now I've made this advert myself. And so there's so much you can learn, and KTV is very happy to help. Yeah, and so like clubs, they're just not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do with my arms. It's like,
Yeah, because you're always bouncing around like that.
I can handle a bar though. A bar or a pub I can handle, because I can talk to people and
Yes.
approach people.
Yes.
But a club, there's just not the same atmosphere.
I know. Oh, anyway.
What's going on with you?
Well, I've been really busy. I've had lots of work done, but now that's over the way, and I thought, well, what can I do in my spare time? So I thought, hey, why not sign up be a sabbatical officer?
A SABS officer?
Yeah.
A Kent Union?
Yeah.
Well, what are you thinking of going for?
Well, I thought my first one would be education, VP for education. The Vice President for Education is the Kent Union officer in charge for academic presentation and educational campaigning. The officer sits on the learning and teaching boards, as well as the Senate and other academic committees, where they represent students and are right to the best education possible. VP Education is also the supporter of course, faculty and school reps.
VP Education?
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't really see you doing that. I was thinking maybe like activities, because you do all like the student media stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like VP Activities.
Yeah.
The Vice President for Activities is the Kent Union officer responsible for all societies and extracurricular activities which are not covered by the Vice President for Sports, supporting and empowering all the volunteers who run and take part in these activities. In addition to this, VP Activities is the Director of Canterbury Youth Student Media, which runs CSR FM and has a close connection to student media. What do you think of that?
I think it's good, but I thought, you know what? I might go into sports. VP Sports.
VP Sports?
The Vice President for Sports is the Kent Union officer who campaigns for the development, promotion and defence of wide-range sports and physical activities on offer here at the university. They work closely alongside the sports department to improve facilities and make them more accessible for students, so that we all have the opportunity to improve our well-being. It is the VP Sports who works with those who run Kent Union sports clubs and along with Christchurch for annual sporting events.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, come on, look at me.
I am. That's why I'm so disgusted. No, mate. VP Welfare.
Welfare?
Welfare. The Vice President for Welfare is the Kent Union officer responsible for the defence and improvement of the welfare of students here at the University of Kent. VP Welfare works alongside university departments and has a seat in university committees to make sure that the university study here. The Vice President for Welfare also is in charge of supporting Kent Union Student Committee welfare officers. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's not sort of my forte, my cup of tea, if you will. So I thought, you know what? I'll bring out the big guns. I'm gonna go for president.
Union President?
Union President. I mean, think about it. My name out in the lights. Like a star. Union President. The Union President leads Kent Union in improving the university for every student here at the University of Kent. The President is the ambassador for the Union and represents it with the University Administration, Canterbury City Council and local members of Parliament, among others. The President is a member of the University Council, the Senate, the Finance and Resources Committee, and is the chair of the Board of Trustees, being responsible for overseeing performance management of Kent Union's chief executive.
Well, bad news. It's kind of too late.
What?
Like, people have put in their applications. Better luck next year, mate.
I wish I had a way of changing what happens at my university. I'd stick a coffee machine right there. I'd probably make things a bit more wheelchair friendly. I'd definitely make beer free at Essentials.
Okay, maybe it's a good idea that I don't get a say in every single aspect of student life, but just like every other student, I do get a say by voting for different candidates in different union roles. To do that, all you gotta do is go down to the venue.
It's easy to get to venue, even from Rutherford. You've just gotta go... How do I get to venue? Alternatively, you can go to kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections and vote online. Just click the Vote Now button, log in with your student account, and follow the instructions. You can read the candidates' manifestos, and then vote for your nominations in the order that you want them.
I didn't care. That we wouldn't be doing this forever, but then the truth is that I was just scared. So you put up a front to protect yourself, but if you're dead on the floor, why get back on the shelf? You can't change your outfit once the night has begun. We still got the build up, we still got the fire.
Hi, I'm Alexander Lilly.
Hi, my name is Bridget.
The American Football Society, also known as the Kent Falcons.
The KFL Sports Society.
Fun.
Welcome to this slightly later than planned edition of KTV's Varsity. I'm Dave Picosa.
And I'm Tess Bryant.
I'm George Styles. And I'm Ethan Bob. I'm Matthew Pepper.
And I'm Ella Boyd. My name's Mandy Colbambra. And I'm Ali Pilnick. I'm Kathy Fabric. And I'm Daisy Golding.
Forever. Provided that forever is between the 13th and the 17th of February.
Have a nice evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching this Varsity update. Good night. See you next year.
Welcome back everyone. Now to hear from our sports candidates. Make sure you send in your questions, tweet us at Kent_in_TV. Use the hashtag CQT Sports. Alternatively, check us out on www.kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections. Before we continue, let's watch a clip about what VP of Sports is all about.
So, can you give us a brief overview as to what being Vice President for Sports means?
Goodness, where do you even start? So it means firstly, and I suppose quite obviously, being the head of all the sports clubs at Kent. So we've got 56 Team Kent clubs, so I'm their main representative and student rep. But I think I'd say that my role covers everything from sport to health and wellbeing, so whether that's things like are our sports scholars getting enough support academically? Are students able to access sport on campus? Are liberation groups all able to participate freely in sport? Is the cost of sport too high on campus? And mainly, I think personally, my main job is getting the university to understand how crucial to the student experience sport is in its widest sense. The fact it makes you a well-rounded person, keeps you healthy, and a great graduate.
Okay, so that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, crazy.
So out of that, what would you say is your favourite part of the role?
I don't know. I think it's changed massively over the last. I think firstly my favourite part is always working with students. I love that. That's the most motivating thing. But I think I've learned to really like, I suppose, like the political side of the role. So representing students in university board meetings, because it's a massive challenge. And I think times sometimes well received that I'm a sports officer doing it, and sometimes not so well received. But yeah, I really have developed to enjoy that part of the role a lot.
Okay, so you've had the role for 2 years, so you've
Yes.
campaigned twice.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the experience of campaigning?
Oh, it's mad. It's really hard because I feel like we as officers always have quite a rose-tinted view of it because we won at the end of it. But it's fun, really good fun, intense, like honestly the longest days ever, but actually really good to get out and talk to people, but that's something I really enjoy anyway. So got really close group, had a really close group of friends that I was doing it with, so we just kind of messed around for a week to be honest, but it is very, very intense, and I was saying to everyone, just try and be as nice to everyone as possible because you're all going through like a really stressful time, but it's really exciting, and it's great to talk about like your ideas and about how you want to see Kent, and to talk to everyone that's so passionate in that week is amazing.
Okay, so if you could give any tips to the candidates currently campaigning about their campaigns, what would you say?
I'm saying, be nice, I'd probably say. That's probably, just be nice, get sleep, be nice, get sleep, prepare food as well. Just if you could try and get as much sleep as you can and eat healthily, drink loads of water and be nice to everyone. But yeah, sleep, good food, and staying positive, probably the best three things I'd say.
Yeah, so what do you think is the current hot topic? What's the big issue that everyone should be focusing on in sport?
In sport, two things I'd say. Probably one around, still annoyingly, academic free Wednesdays or co-curricular Wednesdays are a massive topic. I think that whoever takes over next year is going to be kind of pivotal to making sure it actually does still happen. I think it's still, with the university, at quite a crucial time being between, students really care about this and is this really important for us? I think that's really, really important, the co-curricular Wednesday stuff. And then the other hot topic is around probably stuff around the cost of sport, but I suppose it's wider than that. It's getting the university to recognise that sport is absolutely fundamental to the student experience, but sport as well as like volunteering and RAG and being part of society is like the learning outside the classroom is what employers really want from us, and it's trying to get the university to kind of get on board. They're always 5 years behind with these things, so it just needs someone to keep pushing that agenda through massively.
Okay, fantastic. And so, last question.
Yes.
Let's say hopefully they will, let's say the person who wins watches this. What advice do you have for them now that they're in the position?
Advice, stick to your values and stick to what you're passionate about. I think what happens is you can get into this role and get sucked in by, and I'm saying what this means, operational things. So, I haven't got this minibus for this, and that's fine, that's extremely important to know we haven't got a minibus for that, but you've got staff members to do that for you. But I think stick to like the top line head three things, and the bit of advice I was always given is where do you want to be in 5 years time, and aim for that, and keep going. And it is hard, and I think especially my role and Tom, who's VP Activities, because we're like so focused on the student experience, it's sometimes the university don't recognise that as much, and to them they want to talk about education because they have to, they're an institution, but when you're talking about how do we make students have a great time at university, then there's sometimes some resistance. So it's hard, but just keep at it and you'll get great achievements hopefully eventually, but it's the best job in the world. And my role is the best job.
Now let's have a look at the candidates for sport this year.
Hi, my name's Abby Christie. I'm running for VP of Sport. I'm focusing on lowering the cost, more recognition, and academic support for our sportsmen and women. Peace.
Hi, I'm Alex Shell and I'm running for Sports VP. I want to increase funding, improve performance and accessibility, and also promote equality. So let's hashtag Excel with Shell.
My name is Georgia Edwards and my three main campaigns are extended opening hours of weekend gym facilities, a direct debit for gym membership and free access to club training. Hashtag Go for Georgia.
Now we have the speeches coming up from our VPs for our candidates of VP. You will all have 2 minutes each. And Abby, if we could please have Abby Christie first.
We sports candidates will have very similar manifesto points, and this is because anyone who's involved in Kent sport understands what needs to be changed. So I'm going to talk about why I would make the best candidate. This is my 5th year at this university as both undergrad and postgrad, and I have volunteered my time, especially for sport, for every one of those years. As a postgrad, I really understand how important sport is for a healthy university experience, and I know how underrepresented postgrads are in sport, and I will change this. I became social sec in my freshers year because that was how evolved I had already become. In my undergrad, I was part of the Debate Society, and as a MA student in the Politics and IR department, I am well practiced in negotiation. I am 100% certain that I will be able to negotiate with the university and Kent Sport for a better quality of sport for everyone at UKC. I'm not afraid to speak up for what matters to you. I was a long-standing committee member of the Kendall Club, that now has the largest number of female members of any Kendall Club in the country. Our Kendall Club advocates equality at every opportunity and is spreading this across Britain. I am myself diverse in the way I've been brought up and through the people I know. With such diversity and adaptability, I hope to engage with all clubs and students from every demographic equally. So take action with Abby.
Thank you, Abby. Georgia Edwards, please could we have your speech next?
Hi, my name is Georgia Edwards. I'm a third-year undergraduate law student and I'm the Vice Chairwoman of the Rowing Club, having previously been the captain of the women's squad. My focus is to make sure the university appreciates the importance that sport has on the well-being of its students, not only in the pursuit of development of excellence, but also the opportunity to participate. Sport plays a fundamental role in the promotion of healthy, active lifestyles, a better mental well-being and developing social skills. My work will be aimed at improving the opportunities to participate in sport. I will ensure the issue with co-curricular Wednesdays is resolved so that all students can have time away from their degree to pursue activities. By improving college sport, we can provide a better pathway for all students. I will lobby for non-term time provisions for postgrad students. I want to ensure that work around equality and diversity in sport is developed and that there is a structure in place so that disabled students can also access sport, to allow for students that they want to participate to feel they truly can. Part of my main campaign is to canvass a direct debit of payment for Kent Sport memberships. I will lobby for the extension of weekend opening hours to the gym, and I will ensure that a date for the swimming pool is secured. And I finally want to push for the development of facilities on campus so that there is enough space for all activities to participate. I am dedicated to providing better sport for competitive teams. One example of them being is to provide them with access to strength and conditioning. A key feature of my campaign is to lobby to ensure students have free access to Kent Sport facilities for club training. I don't want students to be faced by extortionate costs that put them off joining a team. The students on our Medway campus need to be presented with the same opportunities that we're lucky enough to have on Kent campus. I want to ensure there's a development of the expansion of facilities on the Medway campus. So remember to vote for Georgia, number 1 for sport.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Elliot Shell, please could we have your speech?
Hi, I'm Elliot Shell and I'm running to be your next Sports VP. Using the experience I've gained over the past couple of years with my positions on the Team Kent Exec and the Rugby Committee, I've compiled a realistic and achievable manifesto which will improve sport for everyone. If made your Sports VP, I will look to increase funding for all clubs through sponsorship and more money from the university, promote equality. It doesn't matter what race, what gender, sexuality or religion you are, everyone deserves equal opportunities in sport. I want to improve the accessibility in sport. This brings about our Wednesdays. Obviously, something we've been working towards is free Wednesdays, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So it's about no labs, no exams, no seminars on Wednesdays and getting them lectures recorded. Also making the gym membership more affordable with term instalments and also increasing provision for disabled students at university. I want to improve the Team Kent brand as well as improving the performance of all sports clubs and also how sport makes you more employable and how you get that across in job interviews as becoming a graduate. But really, what's written on this piece of paper doesn't matter. What matters is the person standing before you. Who is going to make sure that your voice is heard by the university? Who's going to make sure that when I go to meetings or whoever your sports VP goes to meeting and gets what each student deserves? Last week, the rugby club achieved something amazing. We achieved 4 varsity wins, first ever time the club has ever done it. And someone came up to me in venue that night and asked me, how did it feel? And I didn't have an answer for them because words couldn't describe how that made me feel. And I want every single student at this university to experience that sense of euphoria through sport. Like, years of hard work goes into what this university's achieved, and you are one vote away from bringing positive change to this university. So please make the right decision and vote Elliot Shell for Sports VP. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Next, we'll be having group questions. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question, and I will warn you when you have 30 seconds and 10 seconds left. So, Abby, if you could please answer this question first. The question is, how would you improve the Team Kent brand?
Well, it's quite difficult, particularly for the sports that I represent, because we don't have participation in varsity or bucks. And that's something that I really, really want to work on by having perhaps a showcase. We're looking to do one this year, next term, for everybody that doesn't get to participate, so that they still get the same sort of recognition and viewing time from the university as those that do participate in varsity and bucks.
Thank you, Abby, for your answer. Please, could we have the same question to Elliot? How would you improve the Team Kent brand?
So in my manifesto, I've stated that I want to bring about a Team Kent website and app. So this will essentially bring a more professional view of the Team Kent. You can have player profiles, match reports, man of the match, all kinds of statistics there for all clubs, no matter how big or small. Every club will be featured on there, and then so like their parents could check how they're getting on, and you can check how other clubs are getting on to improve links between other clubs. I also want to bring about a Team Kent charity fundraiser where everyone from the Team Kent can get involved, which I think will really bring everyone together from all types of different clubs.
Thank you, Elliot, for your answer. And Georgia, if you could please answer the same question, would you like me to repeat it?
Thank you. I believe it's really important to have a strong Team Kent presence on campus. For example, having the same kit, the supplier like Rhino we've had. If I was to be elected, I'd make sure that there's a centralised branding on campus for Team Kent. So finding a company to sponsor Team Kent so that we can have more of a bigger presence in that sense. I'd also like to work closely with Inquire and KTV to get more player the profiles, match reports done, just to get a better relationship between the sports clubs and the media and outlets here at Kent.
Thank you for your answer. And let's go on to the second question then. So Elliot, if you could please answer this question first. Do you think playing sport affects your employability as a university graduate?
I think playing sport gives you an unbelievable advantage over the average university student. Companies like KPMG and Deloitte have come out and said they actively look for students who play sport because your degree is essentially just a piece of paper, but the skills that you learn through sport, like leadership, determination, teamwork, work ethic, is everything that they look for. And one thing I put in my manifesto is that I'm looking for to bring in workshops, how students can translate what they get from sport, these skills that they learn, and then put that across in the interview and their graduate applications.
Thank you for your answer. So now we're going to go over to social media for some questions. Sorry, apologies. We're going to ask this question to Abby. Do you think playing sport affects your employability as a university graduate?
Yeah, 100% think it does. One of the things that the Team Kent exec are working towards at the moment is having your committee positions at the very least featured in your degree manifest, the piece of paper that you get at the end, so that they know the hard work that you've put in, because you learn so much through your committee roles as well as actually physically playing the sport, that it really should be a lot more recognised.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Georgia, if you could please answer the same question.
I completely agree. Sport is a fundamental thing in life, and it really does teach you many life skills. And that's why I want the university to realise that university is so much more than just the lectures and seminars that you attend. Sport teaches you transferable skills that you can take into the workplace, and by making the university realise how important sport is in the student well-being and their future prospects is just really key to my manifesto. National statistics show that you're 21% more likely to get a graduate scheme having done sport at university because of the skills that it's taught you. So I want the university to realise the importance that sport has on student well-being.
Thank you for that, Georgia. Now back to social media. Tess, what questions are people back home delivering to us?
Okay, our first question is for Georgia. It is, for free access to Kent sports facilities for clubs, I'm so sorry, wrong question. How do you plan to afford coaching for the teams, given that good coaches aren't cheap?
Oh yeah, good question. So currently for rowing, we don't have a coach, and I think that sports clubs should be able to at least be offered the chance to have a coach. So it'd be going towards Kent Sport and asking for money. Right now, sport is currently under as a commercial service. So I think by putting pressure on the university to make it more about the student experience and more about the student welfare, they'll be able to get access more funds. There's so many funds, and likewise, we have a sponsor for the university, as I mentioned before. We'd be able to access money through that as well. By having that centralised branding, we'd allow them for more funds for coaching, facilities, kit, things like that. So yeah, it's more about making sure there's an opportunity for sports to get the coach that they need.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. Tess, another question, please.
Our next question is for Abby. Why do you feel like you're qualified for the job now? Why did you not apply sooner, given your extensive experience?
Because although that I've put a lot of time into my sports at this university, I always put my degree first. So I've already obtained my degree, and then it was my master's degree. But now that that's actually coming to its end, I feel that with all the experience that I've gained, now is the time to go for this role.
Thank you, Abby. Tess, another question, please.
This one is for Elliot. How will you ensure fair and non-discriminatory sports teams, given that there are over 50 sports teams on campus?
It's mainly about empowering the Kent exec and to utilise that efficiently, so they can then work with coaches, with the sports clubs and committee of sports clubs to ensure that there is no discrimination and to ensure that there is fairer team selections and those people who work harder and train harder in the team that they deserve to be in. And also with like discrimination in sport, it's really important to educate people. Like with the Rainbow Laces at Varsity, I think we could do so much more than that. Like really hold classes and educating people how difficult it is for someone who is gay, someone from a certain religion, to come into a sports environment and feel comfortable. And I think education is needed for that.
Could I just ask, Elliot, how do you plan to educate people and what would that entail?
So we could, like I said, hold classes and educate people on essentially how to essentially welcome people to your club, whether they have any form of mental disability or whatever their sexuality is, their gender is. You need to realise that everyone here is equal. There's a lot that's been done in the world in recent years that we can follow, stuff like that, with like Rainbow Laces, and also just, like I said, spreading the message that everyone is equal in the world.
Thank you, Elliot. Tess, what are the people saying back home? Do you have another question?
Yes, the next one is for Georgia. For free access to Kent sport facilities for clubs, if every club on campus decided to do training in the sports facilities, how would you ensure that this power wasn't abused?
Yes, obviously it's something that would have to have a lot of planning and a lot of talks with Kent Sport and the union. It's not something that's simple, and that's why I said that I'll lobby for it and campaign for it, because I think it's something that really needs to be worked on and developed here at Kent University. So for example, I know a lot of people are struggling at the moment if they're just doing college sport and they want to have access to facilities, and they have to pay for the whole gym membership even though they don't use the gym. So I want to create a fairer and easier way for people to access sport, because at the moment they've been put off by the extortionate costs. So with a lot of planning and a lot of feedback from clubs, that's the only way that we're going to be able to achieve this.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. Could I just ask, how would you plan on tackling the gym, because it's an independent company?
So part of my campaign is to, again, work with a better union with Kent Sport. At the moment, I don't think there's a very cohesive union there. So developing a better relationship with Kent Sport would be the first place to start with this. And then from there... Sorry, can you repeat the last bit, sorry?
Yeah, so because Kent Sport is an independent organisation, how can we tackle this as it's not part of Kent Union?
Yeah, so currently, like I said beforehand, sport here at Kent Union is working as a commercial outlet, and I want to change that to be put back onto the students' welfare. So they're not trying to make a profit from students. And I think by doing that as well, tackling the issue of the relationship with Kent Sport, and then working on the commercial outlet as well. We'll work on that relationship.
Thank you, Georgia. Social media Tess, another question, please.
Okay, our next question is for Elliot. Do you think the gym membership is fair?
Quite simply, I don't think it is fair. Firstly, like needing a campaign to make the gym more affordable, and then Kent Sport put the price up, which firstly isn't acceptable. Also, like Georgia has said, you'd have to buy a gym membership even if you just want to use the pavilion, which is where we want to bring in a change, essentially where you can buy one membership just for pavilion, or one just for the gym, or also one for both. And also to make it more affordable, that you pay in termly instalments, so it coincides with your student loan, rather than just paying the £250 at the start of the year.
Elliot, could you by any chance clarify what you mean by termly instalments? So do you mean still paying for the full membership termly, or do you mean just paying term by term so that you can just go to the gym for one term?
So that you can just say if you are only going to go to the gym for one term, you could then just pay for first term, and then you wouldn't need a gym for the second term. Because say like with some students who do the first term abroad, they would then have to come back and pay the full amount, which isn't really acceptable because they're only going to be here until June, but then their gym membership wouldn't run out until the following Christmas when they wouldn't even be in Canterbury.
Okay, thanks for that answer, Elliot. Tess, another question, please, from social media.
Okay, our next question is for Abby. You say that you want to support those who are heavily involved in sports. How do you plan to support them? Also, do you think that you should apply this... Also, do you think that should apply to any heavily involved societies? For example, student media, RAG, music and theatre societies?
Do you mean the academic support? Or general support?
Sorry, Tess, could we have a repeat of the question?
Okay. The question says, you say you want to support those who are heavily involved in sports. How do you plan to support them? Also, do you think that that should apply to any heavily involved societies?
In my manifesto, I meant academic support. So academic support would mean things like consideration for extensions when you're competing or have so many games that in a certain period of time and it coincides with your degree. At the moment, only scholarship students in sport get extra consideration for academic purposes, and I'd like that to extend to a wider range of people involved in sports or anybody that's particularly heavily involved in any activity, because we personally in our club had somebody that nearly failed because they wouldn't have extra consideration for sport, and I don't think that's fair.
Thank you for your answer. Tess, do we have another question, please?
Yes, our next question is for Elliot. It says, you mentioned that you want to create more women's friendly activities in the sports facilities. Why do you think that the university gym has a lack of women, especially considering how many women's sports teams there are?
I've never said that it has a lack of women. I just stated that it's potentially, especially for women, a lot of girls find it a bit more uncomfortable going to the gym. I didn't say that they don't go to the gym, but it's just about making sport more accessible for everyone, so that it doesn't matter, like I said, what gender you are, there's always an easier pathway for you to get more healthy, more active and lead a better lifestyle.
Thank you for your answer, Elliot. Tess, another question, please.
Okay. Next one is for Abby. It says, in your manifesto, you mentioned that you want an ex-mentor trained to deal with every club they mentor. How do you propose to have enough people specially trained to be able to deal with every sports club that exists on campus?
That's the Team Kent exec. Elliot and I are both on the Team Kent exec this year. That's 8 people that are elected by the sports council that we have every year to represent the clubs. Each of us have between 6 and 9 clubs that we represent. Mine are mainly martial arts or based in the sports centre, so I know specifically how to deal with them. Elliot has mainly field pavilion-based sports, so he knows specifically how to deal with them, and that's the approach we try to take this year, and I want to take further next year, so that each of us knows how to cater for the clubs that we represent.
Thank you, Abby. Could I just ask with that question, so with the mentoring, as students doing that, do you think it will get in the way of education and get in the way of like your academic studies? And how do you plan on taking that further?
Well, we've volunteered our time this year. We know how to balance our work. Elliot and I have extra because he's also the chairman of rugby and I was the president of Kendo, but we take that on as our responsibility to manage our time efficiently.
Okay. Thank you. And more questions from the people at home, please, Tess.
Next question is for Georgia. For a direct debit payment for Kent Sport members, couldn't you just use a debit card?
Kent Sport membership, you have to pay it up front. There's an early bird deal which comes with full term, and then there's the Kent Sport membership, and you can only pay it on a one-off payment. So you can use your debit card, but it means you can only do a one-off payment. What I'm proposing instead is a direct debit method of payment, so that you pay monthly for your Kent gym membership. It's making it more easier for students who are faced with a lot of costs at the beginning of term. It's not fair that you're suddenly bombarded with 101 costs for books, gym membership, society fee. So I think it's really important that there's a progressive way for students to pay for the gym.
Thank you, Georgia. Back to social media, Tess.
Okay, our next question is for Abby. How will you lobby for the issues of training space and storage on campus? Already other societies have this problem, let alone sport. How do you think you'll be able to accommodate this problem?
Well, having been on the Team Kent exec for 2 years already and working at Kent Sport, I have quite a strong relationship with both the union and Kent Sport, and we've already developed a permanently matted or indoor space to help martial arts. So we'll clear up some space at the sports centre already for them. And I think working with a strong relationship with both Kent Sport and the university, it will just make things go much smoother.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Tess, over to you.
Our next question is for Georgia. Why was Kent Sport agree to lose thousands and thousands of pounds for your free access to club training at Kent Sports facilities policy?
Part of the role of Sports VP is to really push for the students' welfare, and you're there to represent 22,000 students. You are there to be their voice. So I want to make sure that if you were to let me, I'd be your voice, and I'd be pushing Kent Sport to constantly give you more access to activities. It would only cost probably £250,000, and if you look at the grand scheme of the things, it's not that much money. So as a role of VP, it's just constantly pushing that pressure on Kent Sport to find the funds. And like I said before, it's not going to be a commercial outlet. I don't want students to be made, the Kent Sport to make a profit out of students.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. Tess, another question, please.
Okay, our next question is for Elliot. Most of the candidates have mentioned raising money for sports clubs, though sponsorship and university-wide sponsorship. Do you have any previous experience of raising money through these means?
Yeah, through the rugby club, a lot of our money does come through from our committee working to gain sponsorship from companies. This year alone, we've raised £5,800 through sponsorship. That's through Enterprise Rent a Car, Student Places, as well as other sponsors, as well as more money being raised through our casino night that we do each year. So, like I said, I do have quite a lot of experience. I know how to go to these meetings and to pitch gaining sponsorship for all sports clubs. It wouldn't be just for a rugby club, but for all sports clubs, because it always the same kind of agenda.
Elliot, could you just kind of tell us more about where this money goes to and what happens with this money?
So a lot of our costs go for transportation. So that's where a lot of the money goes to, and also at the moment we're kind of saving up for a really good coach, and we're currently looking at getting Nicky Little, who's the most capped Fijian rugby player in the world, to come and coach our rugby club, because that's what we've been saving money up for a couple of years now, as well as some new equipment as well.
Thank you for your answer. Back to social media, Tess, another question, please.
This question is for Elliot. Given how few athletes are out in the LGBT in professional sport, does sport foster a culture of homophobia, and how would you aim to tackle this?
I wouldn't say it fosters a culture of homophobia. A couple of years ago, we had a member in our club who was openly gay, and it was never was an issue. I certainly think it's it might be a bigger issue in professional sport, but it's really not an issue at university sport because people at university are a lot more open-minded. To tackle this, like I said, it's just about raising awareness, bringing all sports clubs together to show unity against homophobia and racism and all forms of discrimination. And yeah, so like I said, using like Team Kent Exec to help bring sports clubs together to help eliminate and eradicate this from our sport.
Thank you for your answer, Elliot. Tess, social media, please could we have another question?
Of course, our next question is for Abby. Is there a culture of irresponsible drinking amongst sports clubs? How would you tackle this?
I think there's a culture of irresponsible drinking in Britain. I don't think it's wholly responsible to sports clubs. I think that's a bit unfair. I think Britain as a country should be fighting against that. But I think as the European University of Kent, we are much less at an issue with that. I don't think we have as big of a problem with laddish culture or drinking culture, but it's something that is gradually diminishing anyway.
So Abby, could I just ask, do you know, like with the initiations that go on and everything, there is quite a lot of alcohol involved. How would you try to tackle some, like the things that people feel pressurized into doing, or things that, where there's a lot of drinking involved? Is there anything that it can be replaced with?
Well, I've been here for 5 years now, and I think this is quite a strong outsider's perspective. As part of lots of sports, and through the years, that has already really diminished. And in the past couple of years, I haven't been to a single initiations, plus we don't really call them that anymore, that there hasn't been water alternatives or soft drink alternatives, and everybody always tells them you have the choice. Everybody knows they have the choice. So peer pressure does play a part, but nobody forces anybody to do anything. We're well on the way to making that an active part in sports already. I think it's just making other people aware that we've made the difference is more the issue.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. And social media test, please could we have a question for Georgia?
Okay, the next question is, why should there be so much focus on sport when students are ultimately here to get a degree?
I think sport has a lot to do with, especially making my time better at university and improving my mental health and making my experience better. So that's why I put a lot of emphasis on sport. However, I think there should be an opportunity for all students to participate. Yes, you are here to get a degree and you are here to go to lectures and seminars, but I thought there's so much more that students can get engaged with and they can be part of something really special here at university. So being part of a sports team, any activities you do on campus, that's why I'm really fighting for co-curricular Wednesdays, as we all know, academic-free Wednesdays. I want students to have that day off so they can go pursue activities, they can try a new sport out, try a taster session for a sport. I think it's really key that they make new friends and have social skills, and I think you just get so much from sport and having that time away from studies.
Georgia, can I just ask on to this question? A lot of people in sports teams do get heavily involved with the sport. Do you think their academic side is not fails, but is not put more as importance on there?
Yeah, I think there's an importance of recognising your own time, and something I've always managed to be able to do is have that time management, but I think it's important that students are aware that they are here to get a degree and they have to manage their time well, and they should only be engaged in these sports teams if they've got the time. So part of my thing about sports scholars is having independent learning plans so that they have time to study and more access to studies. So yeah, I think it's a really independent thing, but if I was to be elected, I'd promote your home and study, of course. So I think it's about time management and awareness of having time away from studies.
Thank you for that answer, Georgia. And Tess, over to the social media hub, what do you have in store for us?
Our next question is for Elliot. Given the role is primarily a union vice president, what would be the main issue you would want to tackle that isn't sports related?
Sorry, can I have that question again?
Tess, please could we have a repeat of the question?
Given the role is primarily a union vice president, what would be the main issue you would want to tackle that isn't sports related?
I guess the main issue which you could argue isn't sports related is just discrimination. People go about life pretending it's not there, but it still is. People do get discriminated because of their gender, their sexuality, their race and their religion, and that needs to be eradicated, not just from sport but from life in general. You should have equal opportunities across the board. It shouldn't matter what colour your skin is or what God you believe in. We all should have the equal opportunity to achieve what we want in life and to experience life the same way.
Elliot, could you by any chance expand further on that, how you would go about that or what you would like to see happening change-wise?
So like I said, it's about bringing people together, having like a solidarity against these essentially wrong views of life, that everyone is equal. So having all sports clubs say come together for a day and socialise and have pictures and put that online to show that the Team Kent is against racism, is against homophobia, and also, like I said, like holding like lectures and classes on educating people on these issues and how you can help eradicate this issue personally.
Thank you for that answer, Elliot. Tess, back over to you.
Our next question is for Georgia. Why do you think the university is so reluctant to allow sports to be student and union led? How would you approach this difficult relationship?
As I said before, I think the key is to have a better relationship with Kent Sport. In that way, we can actually help intercollegiate teams. I know that I help out the intercollegiate sport for rowing, and there isn't a big presence of intercollegiate participants. So we really want to create opportunities for intercollegiate teams as well to participate in sport. So working with the college presidents, and as of today, I only found out that there's a sports committee position on a college committee. So working with that person, having maybe their own Team Kent exec as such for the person who's in charge of sport for each college will help promote the participation numbers, especially in college sport, which I think is really important.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. And back over to social media.
This question is for Abby. Is the VP sport role redundant when it should be just covered under activities?
Activities is already an extensive job. There's so many societies that goes under activities, and extracurricular activity that sport is would be overlooked, and that's not what we want. Sports is entirely different. We've got a different structure. We have different voting structure and everything to societies. We can only have students, where societies can have external members. I think it's very important to have somebody that knows specifically how to deal with sports clubs at this university.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Tess, another question, please.
Okay, this question is for all the candidates. If sports are so fundamental, why is it still so difficult for many students to access to sport, especially funding hashtag CQT Sports from Twitter?
Elliot, if we could please have you answering this question
Sorry,
first.
could I have that question again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Tess, please could you have a repeat of the question?
Okay. To repeat the question, if sports are so fundamental, why is it still so difficult for many students to have access to sport, especially funding?
Like George already mentioned, Kent Sport are commercial, so really their interest should be us as students, but their interest is money. Like I said, previous sports VP have lobbied and campaigned for a cheaper sports membership, and all that's happened is it's just gone up in price. I think that is the main issue here, and that's why it's become very hard for people to partake in sport, as well as the university not recognising how important sport is, not just for us but for them. It makes us so much more employable, and then if more of our students are walking into grad jobs, we got the league tables, and then the university's reputation is improved. So if they increase the amount of money that they put into sports clubs, it'll make sport more accessible for other people.
Thank you for your answer, Elliot. Abby, please could you answer the same question?
Yeah, I think as well as the university not recognising sports enough, there's also the issue that if we don't recommend sport more or improve sports, prospective students that come that are already engaged in sport will see this university as one that isn't good for sport and won't come here. Other universities include sports in their tuition fees and have a lot more time and consideration to sport than Kent. It's not that it's so fundamental then it doesn't get recognised, it's just that our university doesn't recognise it as important, even though it is. So we really need to push Kent to be more of a sports-focused university.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Georgia, if you'd like to answer the same question.
I want Kent University to realise the importance that sport can have on a student experience and well-being. The national statistics proves that if you do sport, you're 8 times more likely to stay at university. And this is a no-brainer for Kent University. They don't want people dropping out. So I think that Kent is very behind in the fact they don't recognise this importance of sport on student well-being. With regards to funding, again, as a commercial service, we need the university to realise that it's for the student welfare and it's for the students' best interest to have this opportunity for sport.
This is a question just open to everyone, whoever would like to take it first. If a lot of other universities have a lot cheaper memberships to Kent's, like to their gym memberships as a university, why do you think ours is so high? Elliot, yeah?
One of the reasons why our membership is so high is because of the little funding that our clubs receive. Like the rugby club have over 120 members, which means we pay over £1 million of tuition fees a year. But this year we only received £1,200 back from the university. So one thing I want to do is bring in a university-wide sponsorship. I know like KPMG sponsor universities like Southampton and Exeter, and I know that Nottingham get £300,000 through this sponsorship deal. If I was able to bring in that sponsorship deal, then essentially with 55 sports clubs, each club will receive just a little bit less than £6,000 each.
Thank you, Elliot. Georgia, would you like to expand on the point?
Again, getting money for teams is so fundamental. We all know how expensive cost to sports can be and access to sports. So providing a centralised branding for Team Kent is really important in that sense as well.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, would you like to carry on?
Oh, no, thank you.
Abby, expanding on this point, as would you also, like Elliot, want to raise money through sponsorships, and if so, how do you do this?
Well, funding is obviously immensely important, and we definitely don't get enough from the university, but I think it's actually recognition as well that's an incredibly important issue. I mean, like the lad question or the drinking culture question we received earlier, the university still has that sort of viewpoint on sport, and I don't think that's fair. They've asked us to combat it, we have combated it, and I think they should give us more credit and recognition for what we've done.
Thank you for your answers, guys. And social media, what are the people saying at home?
Our next question is for everybody. How do you think Kent Union and Kent Sport can work together to increase participation in sport?
Abby, if you wouldn't mind answering this first.
Well, I work with Kent Union and Kent Sport, so I have quite an advantage maybe when it comes to seeing this, but unfortunately the two sides don't particularly work together very well. They both want to achieve the same thing, but it's almost like they want to have independent credit. It would be so much more important that credit's not necessarily important. It doesn't matter who does it, really. If you can just work together to have the same results, that's what it matters. It's for the students, not for the independent institutions.
Also, Abby, could I just ask you that, why do you think that Kent Union and Kent Sport don't work together well?
They haven't worked together well for such a long time that I don't think anybody really knows why anymore. I think one of the big problems is that when the two go into negotiations, instead of keeping calm, level head and not making it personal, it tends to become agitated and fights ensue rather than it just being negotiations. And I think that's what I'd bring, because I've genuinely been taught and trained how to keep a level head and to negotiate no matter how unreasonable the other position are being.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Elliot, if we could have you answering the same question.
Like Abby said, like Kent Sport and Kent Union haven't worked together the last few years, and I think it's important to just everyone to take a step back and realise the most important thing here is the students, and then so getting the two different organisations to work on the same page, like with like Kent Sport's Let's Play programme, really promote that much more better, so that you can easily just come along on a Saturday or any evening and try a new sport. Like I think you turn up, pay £1, and you can have a go at lacrosse, you can have a go at field hockey, you can have a go at touch rugby, you can have a go at football, and then just getting more people involved in sports in general.
Thank you, Elliot. Also, I just wanted to ask, so if they haven't been working together for such a long time, what makes you think that you can get them to work together, and how would you do that?
Well, personally with the rugby club, when I came in as vice chairman, the club had probably its worst year in history. We weren't allowed to socialise on campus, no one really liked us, and the first team had just lost every single game that season. 2 years later, after coming to the end of my chairman reign, we're now seen as a much better sports club. We've just achieved an amazing feat of winning all 4 varsity matches. We've had more members than ever. I feel like personally I just have the skills to help bring people together and help these 2 organisations sort things out.
Thank you, Elliot. Georgia, would you like to answer the same question?
Yeah, so as the candidates have raised the issue of how important harmonising this relationship is, one of the ways I'd like to try and do this is get a better turnout for participation, especially because that is the key purpose. I'd like to put back the college events back to the college committees and give back the Kent Union responsibility of those. By putting it back to Kent Union and the college committees, they can have better resources to get their teams involved and to get each team to maybe have a person in their committee that is in charge of development and college sport. In terms of working towards Kent Sport and Kent Union relationship, I feel like I'd be very good at this. I currently work for Kent Sport, and I'm in talks at the moment with Kent Sport about how to develop growing further. So I've created a good relationship already with Kent Sport, and it's not going to happen overnight, this relationship, but it needs something to be worked on.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. Tess, back to you.
This is a question for everyone from Bruce. Do you agree that there is a lack of facilities specifically for strengthening and conditioning? Every sport on campus I can think of could benefit from this type of training, and there are 4 platforms for 12,000 students, many of which are purely recreational gym goers.
Georgia, please could we have you answer this question first?
Hi, yes, if I was to be elected, I'd campaign for more strength and conditioning, coaching, training, access to this. I'd also then want to push Kent Sport to expand. I know there's an expansion on the gym, but I'd also push for them to do another expansion, to create a specialised strength and conditioning unit. This would be for sports teams to use, because I know that I go to the gym as well, and getting access to it at times is nearly impossible because it's so busy. So I'd push for Kent Sport to build a new strength and conditioning unit as such, and this would be make a greater access for students.
Thank you, Georgia. Because they've had some work done recently, how would you plan on funding that? And do you think they'll agree to pushing that?
So the funding wouldn't come from Kent Union, it'd be part of the estate strategy. So like the swimming pool, it's currently on the estate strategy. So I'd push for Kent Sport to realise the importance in the estate development plan, to realise the importance of building on Kent site. As long as they realise the importance, and by asking the students to give feedback, asking sports teams to tell the reasons why it's important that they get access to strength and conditioning, they get access to swimming pool, would really create a better student experience. So they're placing pressure on the estates department to put it down as a high ranking thing on their list. That's how the funds would come from.
Thank you for your answer, Georgia. Abby, if we could please have you answering the same question.
Kent Sport do actually already have some plans to create more facilities like this. I mean, some of the talks were about converting the Pavilion Cafe, or at least parts of it, or even just at least temporarily for some days in the weeks, and to host as well some more women-only strength and conditioning sessions, so that they wouldn't have to fight men for the facilities or the equipment. And if Kent Sport are already willing to make those changes, it would be really good if Kent Union can help advertise and support and push them, as well as getting them to help us.
Abby, could I ask in particular what ways of advertisement would you like to see through Kent Union?
Well, at the moment, Kent Union doesn't particularly advertise any of Kent Sport's own things at all. We each have our separate activities, our separate facilities, and we solely advertise our own. The Sports Centre only advertises Kent Sport things, the Union only advertises Kent Union, and it would just be so much better if we could put them both in the same place. Like, there's no Kent Union flyers in the Sports Centre lounge, because that's not allowed, and there's no Sports Centre ones in the SAC building, and that's just silly.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Elliot, if we could please have you answering the same question.
One thing I actually have in my, well, a couple of things I have in my actual manifesto is planning for a state-of-the-art performance centre for athletes. So this will have essentially a lot more kind of like free weights, a lot more pits, like a small AstroTurf for like prowler use. So not only will this let athletes do a lot more specific work for them, but also free up space in the gym. And also I want sport-specific workout plans and diet plans. Like someone who plays netball really needs to focus on being more agile, whereas someone who plays American football needs to focus on being more powerful. So having them programs readily available for them to help take sport to the next level here at University of Kent.
Thank you, Elliot. Could I just clarify what you mean by taking it to the next level?
So essentially improving all of our athletes to become better players. So essentially there's not a single athlete who wouldn't improve by doing more sport-specific work in the gym. Personally, playing rugby, it's very frustrating losing a game just because the other team's bigger than you, and that's something that is easily avoidable with the right support from Kent Union and Kent Sport.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Tess and social media, over to you.
This next question is from Enrico De Rosa. There seems to be an unfair bias towards bigger clubs when receiving attention from Kent Sports. This can especially be seen with outdoor activities, with them predominantly favouring one team. How would you address this situation?
Could we have you answering this question first?
Well, this is really the role of the Team Kent exec. As mentors for every single club, it's our job to know what all of our clubs need, whether they're big or small. All the clubs that I represent are predominantly smaller clubs. That's why I represent so many. And I am the one that has to push for what they want in our meetings and with Nina and with the sports coordinator. And as VP, it's our job to really empower the exec so that they actually have the ability to put their groups forward and really represent their voices.
So, as somebody who supports the smaller groups, do you think that you're a better candidate, or you would offer more support to the smaller sports other than the bigger ones?
No, I think I've really heavily pushed in my manifesto that I would treat everybody as equally as humanly possible. If you give too much attention to the smaller clubs, you wouldn't want the accomplishments of the bigger clubs to decline. It's just really important to know what each club needs. I mean, some of the smaller clubs don't actually need as much as the bigger clubs, but that doesn't mean that you don't give them as much attention. You just have to be very specific in the attention that you do give them.
Thank you for your answer. Georgia, please could you answer the same question?
In my manifesto, I've made it really clear that I want everybody to have this access to sport and this fair opportunity for everybody to access sport. So I think that with smaller clubs, it's vital to hear and listen to them and hear what they need. And then we can decide the best sort of action plan with them, sit down with their committees, create an action plan of how we're going to let their club develop, how they're going to access funding. And from there, that's the only way you can go forward with smaller clubs. I don't think smaller clubs should be ignored or dismissed. At the end of the day, every team is a sport team and they all have their own needs and rights that should be respected.
Thank you, Georgia. So after the action plan, how would you make sure that it's carried out?
I'd make sure that there's meetings with the Team Kent exec for these sports teams to track their progress, maybe it'd be every 2 months. It's quite dependent on the team, of course, and their needs. Some might be competing every week at Bucks fixtures, whereas some might not be competing at all. I know for rowing, we only have a few competitions each year, so having an action plan meeting each week would be pretty pointless. But so depending on the team and their needs, I think that's really quite crucial.
Elliot, thank you, Georgia, by the way. Elliot, please could you answer the same question?
Firstly, I completely agree. I think there is maybe more help for the bigger clubs available. Like, for example, a club gets more funding if their first team's in the Premiership than a club whose first team might be in South East 2A, which doesn't really make sense. Really, you need more funding to get there, rather than once you get to that stage, if we feel like we actually don't need that money anymore. Also, like you said, with like the outdoor sports, for example, the men's rugby team on Tuesday night able to train on the brand new 3G, but the women's rugby team only train on the AstroTurf, which is unfair. So it really comes from who you elect as your sports VP to stand up and be a voice for these small clubs, to go to these small clubs, see what they want, and then this person who is in charge of sports at this university to be their voice and to fight for equality in sport and what they need.
Thank you, Elliot. Also, as you're part of a bigger sport, rugby, do you think that the smaller teams who are trying to fund need help with that? Because obviously bigger teams will have more people to be funding for them. How do you think that you'll help the smaller teams?
I completely agree. With rugby specifically, we have one guy who's the chairman of Kent Invest, so that helps massively on the financial side. But it's about, like I said, educating these smaller clubs. Obviously, it's a smaller pool of people, so you have less diverse skills in that group, and it's about helping their committees to acquire the sponsorship, just making it easy for them, to network with local business, do a game sponsorship. Like I said, if I was able to bring in a Team Kent-wide sponsorship deal, to bring in essentially an extra lump sum for every single sports club, more money than they've ever had before in previous years, so that hopefully funding should never be an issue again.
Thank you for that answer, Elliot. Tess, social media, over to you.
Now, our final question of tonight is from Henry. How would you attempt to change the somewhat negative outsider view that is received by certain sports teams?
Georgia, please could you answer this question first?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Tess, please can you repeat the question?
To repeat the question, how would you attempt to change the somewhat negative outsider view that is received by certain sports teams?
So tackling this issue is, of course, really important because you don't want to be judged on your behaviour. It's about the sport at the end of the day. I really want to put the emphasis on the sport. It's about the players playing. Again, the best way for this is meetings with the sports teams and the Team Kent execs to monitor the behaviour in teams, to make sure that nothing's happening. And at the end of the day, it's about creating a safe place for sport to be played in.
Thank you, Georgia. Abby, please could you answer the same question?
I think a lot of it is that we need to make people aware that sweeping generalisations for an entire club aren't acceptable, that you have to treat individual acts as individual acts, that's what they are, and that to judge an entire club by the acts of a few people is incredibly unfair. So a lot of more promotion for the good things that clubs that receive negative publicity, to show the charity work, the funding that they do, and to actually meet some of their club members would be immensely helpful because they're not all the way that they seem.
Thank you for that answer, Abby. Elliot, please could you answer the same question?
It's about really giving recognition for the good things people are doing with sports clubs. So people do great things each week, but you never hear about it. But as soon as one person does something bad, it's in the newspapers, it's national press. It's about using social media, like the Team Kent and Kent Union social media, to recognise, say, if Georgia sets up a big fundraiser with the rowing club, that should be publicised, and it's not. It's about giving these people recognition for the great things that they're doing, and to show that sports isn't bad, it's anything but bad. It brings great opportunities to everyone, and it creates lifetime memories.
Thank you, Elliot. We have one more question. If Abby can please answer this one first. So Abby, if you could just give us a breakdown of what you think makes the ideal candidate for sport?
I think the ideal candidate for sport is somebody that's experienced sport at this university, who is passionate about sport, but also has the skills necessary to tackle Kent sport, to tackle the university, and to really bring the issues into focus, and not to get angry, not to get frustrated, but deal with everything calmly enough that really positive solutions will be brought forward.
Thank you for your answer, Abby. Elliot, please could you answer the same question?
Sorry, can I have the question again?
Yeah, so what is your breakdown? Like, if you could just give us a quick summary of what you think the perfect or ideal candidate for VP Sport would be.
What's your dream date?
I think the ideal candidate for Sports VP is someone who, regardless of what it says on their manifesto, or whether it's about the person who you're seeing, who you voted for, it's about their passion towards sport, their willingness to come to you, listen to you and see what you need, and also to push for what the ideal situation is with students, like a free Wednesday, but then not to come back with nothing, to come back with at least something, to come back with lectures are now recorded every Wednesday and there's no seminars, labs or exams. It's about, like Abby said, negotiating and basically doing the best job you possibly can for the students of this university.
Thank you for your answer, Elliot. Georgia, please could you answer the same question?
The sports VP needs to be able to represent the students and represent them their needs. It needs to be a voice, they need to be approachable, and they need to be willing to listen to your feedback and really fight for what you need as a sports team or an individual to participate in sport. The sports VP needs to be somebody who cares about sport. They need to be really willing to fight for the sport that you want to play and be able to let you access that sport. It's somebody that really cares for the sport and cares for the well-being of their students at the end of the day.
Thank you, Georgia, and thank you to all of our candidates and to the Social Media Hub. That's all we have time for today, and if you'd like to see any of the interview questions that we've had today, look on our YouTube channel on Kent TV on YouTube. And tomorrow we're back with activities and education. Don't forget to send in your questions to social media at www.kentunion.co.uk/leadership-elections or tweet us in at Twitter at Kent_TV using the hashtag CQT. Thanks again to everyone else. I've been Mandeep Kaur Bambra. Good night.